Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the troublesome reign of King John, and we get to hear from Essex today in Act 2, Scene 1. So the last we saw Essex, he and the other nobles were very angry with King John because they heard that Arthur had been killed. Hubert came in and said that Arthur had been killed. He died of the pain after his eyes were taken out, and John's like, that's great, that frees me up. But the nobles are like, this was a terrible, terrible thing that you did. So they leave him, they storm out, they say that they're no longer on his side. And then King John got very angry at Hubert, and Hubert caved and said, no, wait, I actually didn't really kill him. And John was like, okay, maybe this is salvageable. At the top of Act 2, Scene 1, though, Arthur doesn't know that he's about to be freed, and he is trying to escape from being held captive on his own. So he was walking along the castle wall, thinking that if he can just jump outside of the castle, then he'll be fine. But it was actually rather a long fall, and when he jumps, he falls and it breaks like all of his bones, and he dies at the bottom of the wall. At which point Salisbury, Pembroke, and Essex come in because they're looking, they want to find his grave and pay their respects, all of that sort of stuff. But they find his body instead, and they think that like Hubert killed him in the castle, and somebody just like chucked him out without burying him, and that's all that Arthur gets. So all of them are just horrified at what they see before them. They're just mortified that Arthur wasn't treated better. But Essex says, "Leave childish tears, brave lords of England. If water floods could fetch his life again, my eyes should conduit forth a sea of tears. If sobs would help, or sorrows serve the turn, my heart should volley out deep, piercing plaints. But bootless were it to breathe as many sighs as might eclipse the brightest summer's sun. Here rests the help, a service to his ghost. Let not the tyrant causer of this dole live to triumph in ruthful massacres. Give hand and heart, and Englishmen to arms. 'Tis God's decree to wreak us of these harms." So this is Essex basically saying, thoughts and prayers aren't going to help here. We got to actually do something. He's like, if it would bring Arthur back, if I cried hard enough, I absolutely would. But that's not going to do anything. You know, England's hope just died right here. So we have to take up arms against John, is what we have to do now. At which point, Hubert enters, because when King John was yelling at Hubert, he was like, let's see if we can salvage this. Hubert has gone and found the nobles, and he's like, wait, the king wants you to come back because I told him that Arthur's fine, I didn't do anything to him, everything's cool, so the king wants to talk to you. And they're like, clearly Arthur is not fine and you killed him. And Hubert's like, no, I swear I didn't. And they chase him off, and then they decide amongst themselves that they need to align themselves with the French, with Louis the Dauphin, and take arms against John. And that's the end of Act 2, Scene 1. So Shakespeare's version, Act 4, Scene 3, is very similar. It starts out with Arthur walking along the wall, and he jumps off, and he dies, and then nobles come in, but I don't think Essex is there, but the bastard is there, and they're talking amongst themselves for a little bit, and then they find Arthur, and the nobles all fight amongst themselves about what happened here, and Hubert comes in to say, you know, the king wants to see you again, and they get all angry with Hubert, and the nobles end up all leaving, and we get a sort of scene within a scene towards the end where Hubert and the bastard are talking, and the bastard is like, if you did this, you are going to rot. Like, this is bad. And Hubert is like, I swear I did not do this. And then the scene ends with the bastard having sort of a lovely monologue about what Arthur meant to the country. He tells Hubert to pick him up and carry the body with him so that he can get a proper burial. And he acknowledges the fact that, like, that's all of England that Hubert picks up in his arms. He's like, how easy to lift all of England. So it's just an acknowledgement of Arthur actually having the proper claim to the throne, which happens a little bit in this version, in this speech by Essex, where he's like, here rests the help. You know, this is, Arthur was the one that was going to help us get away from John, but, you know, now he's passed. So in both versions, we see Arthur jump off the wall, we see Hubert get blamed for it, we see the nobles decide that they need to align with France, with Louis the Dauphin. It happens in a slightly different order in each of them, but the end result is the same. The nobles want to go and side with France and against King John. In this version, Essex is sort of the leader of the pack, and in Shakespeare's, it's Salisbury who fills that role, but it's pretty similar one way or the other. So anyway, that's the end of Act 2, Scene 1, and come on back tomorrow and we'll see how like the third or fourth iteration of this war is gonna go. I'll see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.